Welcome, everyone, to our August 29th council meeting. Start with a flag salute led by Mr. McCaffrey.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building, on the borough website, and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mrs. Baumiller?
Here.
Ms. Lambert?
Here.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Here.
Ms. Snyder?
Here.
Mayor Davis? I have several meeting minutes for approval without formal reading. The June 10th regular meeting, June 27th agenda meeting, a June 27th executive session, July 8th regular meeting, July 8th executive session, July 25th agenda meeting, and a July 25th executive session.
Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any items requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. So I've removed the resolution awarding the water maintenance asset management agreement with USG. That is still in the works. Local Finance Board has given their approval, but the BPU is still reviewing the application. So we're still in a holding pattern. 176 is approving membership to the Beach Haven Volunteer Fire Company #1. Resolution 179 is urging the state of New Jersey to take an incremental and targeted approach to adopting the proposed protection against climate threat and the resilient environments and landscaping rules, the new real DEP rules. 180 is approving change order #1, final, dated August 12th, 2024, for the 2022 road improvement project, 6th Street, Station Plaza, and Delaware Avenue, and Borough Utility Replacement, 6th Street and Delaware Avenue. Resolution 181, approving change order 1, dated August 13th, 2024, for the 2021 road improvement project, Pennsylvania and Pelham Avenue, and Borough Utility Replacement Project, Pelham Avenue. Resolution 182 is canceling water and sewer charges. 183 is refunding water and sewer charges. 184, I'm going to be removing from the consent agenda. We're looking to execute a temporary work agreement with the Army Corps and the DEP for staging areas, but they did not send back the final draft of the agreement before this meeting. So I'm going to remove that. 185 is canceling sewer charges. And 186 is approving a state aid agreement between the Department of Environmental Protection and the Borough Beach Haven for construction of the Barnegat Inlet to Little Egg Harbor Inlet, Long Beach Island, New Jersey Hurricane and Storm Reduction Project. This is the agreement between us and the state that says what our financial responsibilities will be with the project. So we did have a cost share that that Ocean County had promised to pay for us. Since the bid has gone out and accepted and it has increased by $30 million, the municipal cost share has also increased from about $240,000 to $656,878. So before we put it on the agenda today, we did make a call to Ocean County Comptroller to make sure that we were still going to be covered by Ocean County. And she said, yes, they've been working behind the scenes with the DEP the whole time. And yes, the county is still prepared to pay our local share cost of the replenishment project. So we're going to go through with that state aid approval today.
Does anyone on council wish to remove any of these items for further discussion?
No.
Okay. At this time, I'll make a motion to approve resolutions 176 through 186, removing
you.
184.
Thank you.
Have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
All right, under general discussion items, the first one is the delivery loading issues that we've been having on Center Street and the proposed ordinance change that had been looked at in 2022. We're kind of resurrecting the same proposed ordinance, the same problems we're still dealing with deliveries in that area. Did you look at the ordinance that was proposed?
It's the same one from a couple years ago.
Yeah, it would take the first 4 angled spots on the northern side of Second Street, where Second and Bay meet, and make that a no parking area from 6 a.m. to whatever time you feel is appropriate, and then make it available for regular parking. That would make that area for loading and unloading during the day.
Okay, I have a question, and I see Mr. Walker's here because we went over this for quite a while. Back in the day, I thought it was a pretty good plan, and boy, the response we got was very, very negative from and I see you have gotten a lot of the neighbors involved. We also heard from a lot of the other businesses, and it's like, why are you creating something for one area while the rest of the town is stuck? And I'm anxious to hear, Mr. Walker, what you have to present. I did talk to some of the business owners back then, and they said that you can tell these companies when you want a delivery. And I think that's something that, Beach Haven's always been pretty like, yeah, come whenever you want, do whatever you want. And the first thing I would like to see is if we do something like this, start insisting that people set up times for deliveries. And we're not having this all day, every day, free for all. I know the Second Street people back in the day were concerned about losing that parking. They felt that they'd made enough of a sacrifice. And I believe you said something about how about along the boulevard. Now, I know, Chief, you may not be real thrilled with that. I don't know. I'm just curious if, doing something on the boulevard, because the businesses are the ones that are taking the delivery and the homeowners are the ones that are paying the price. So.
John,
Yeah,
did you wanna
I
talk?
had the same concerns Colleen has.
Yes.
Chief's coming up first.
Okay.
He trumps you, sorry.
Yeah, first, before you speak, where did this evolve again?
John and the neighbors had been starting to email Nancy
Okay.
and myself with these continuing issues, same ones we've been hearing.
Okay.
So to answer your question, the reason why I didn't think the boulevard was a good idea is because you have a lot more traffic on the boulevard. Second Street area, those few parking spots right there, from that stop sign back to where Chicken and the Eggs property ends, it's the perfect distance for a truck to load and unload right there, even a tractor trailer, which would deal with Cisco. If you were to do that on the boulevard, it would take a lot more spots than 3 or 4. It would, because most of those angle parkings are right up to the crosswalks. So this area is just, it's really not used a lot during the day. The thought is that we have throughout town, we've been doing a lot more even with like the 15-minute parking for businesses. Those spots, the 15-minute parking spots, really start to get used a lot more in the evening hours, starting around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when people come off the beach and start ordering food and picking up dinners and stuff like that. So if you had that be a 15-minute parking area during the day, have it be a loading area, both Chicken the Egg and Station 117 and any other businesses that would be taking any kind of deliveries there, you could actually get 2 trucks side by side right there, and it would alleviate the traffic congestion of a truck parking in the roadway and trying to get around. So I think it'd be safer in the end. And it's, like I said, it's only 3 or 4 spots. I thought it was 3, but maybe it's 4.
Well, when you proposed this a couple of years ago, I thought it was a great idea. And I thought it solved the problem very nicely. And then, boy, we got such blowback. And, I understand what they were saying. And I understand what you're saying now, it'd be far less effect on Second Street than it would on the boulevard. I'm just thinking in terms of the people on Second Street anyhow. And I don't know if it's doable, but it seems to me, might be something to look at.
This,
Some Google Maps
when
have been
Mr. Wagner came in and was talking about it, I think this is something that you'd have to address with them, because I think maybe they're at the point where this might be something that's more acceptable for them
Right.
than what's going on there now. And what's going on there now, it is kind of chaotic, but there's really no other safe options. We allow it to happen on a lot of the other streets, and granted, some of the other streets are wider. We allow the trucks to park in the middle of the road and stuff like that, and those areas are safer. Second Street, this would be a better option for this, and the restaurant has been there, and they need to take their deliveries. I don't know, what it would cause if we tried to stop them from getting deliveries.
Now, yeah, and I don't
That would
mean to
be bad.
stop them. I understand what you're saying, because like I said, when it first came out a couple of years ago, I thought it was a really great idea until it was like, boom. And
I think at
again,
that, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you,
no,
but
no.
I think at that point, I think the neighborhood was irritated with some of the things that were going on, and I think it might have just been one of those knee-jerk reaction. Maybe they're more willing to consider it now.
and that's exactly, I mean, if the neighbors are fine with it, I'm fine with it. I mean, I do think that makes sense, but I'm just thinking in terms of, again, too, like I said, it wasn't just the neighbors, it was the other businesses. Like, how dare you give them a loading zone and we don't have one?
Right.
And,
Yeah. And we do that for every business in town. I mean, every
Mm-hmm.
business in town takes deliveries for things, and none of them really have loading zones. I mean, including, the Angleside and the Seashell and the Victoria Rose and, Schooner's Wharf and Bay Village.
Mhm.
They all take deliveries in spots that aren't spots.
designated.
We have exceptions for everybody, every business in town that needs to get deliveries. We make it work for them.
Okay, no, I understand. I was just like, we've just been through this not that long ago is what I was concerned about.
So being on Second Street, wouldn't they be able to unload a little faster too?
It would unload right to their back
Go
door.
around the back?
Their back door where they take the deliveries is closer to Second Street than it was to Third Street. The problem came, or some of the neighbors end up making it very difficult for any vehicles to back down that area. So,
Instead of Bay Avenue.
yeah, Bay Avenue, Bay
What I'm
Avenue,
talking
you have a lot more walking traffic, bicyclists and stuff like that. I just think doing that out on Bay Avenue might create more of a danger for pedestrians. And if you have a guy with a lift gate on the boulevard and he's, wheeling, crates of things across that sidewalk where there's that many people walking, and I think you're dealing with less cars and less pedestrians in that 200 block of Second Street, as long as you stay in that marked area. And I think we can control it better. And I do agree that if there is a spot that's safer, work on a time delivery for them. Anybody else?
Thank
Oh,
you.
that makes sense. Thank you. I would like to hear from Mr. Wagner. If that's okay with everyone else.
Hi, John Wachter, 219 Second Street. So I guess the first thing to address is what's changed. It has become crazy, crazy. And there's a few reasons why. One, the expansion is the chicken or the egg. And really, there was nothing done to address the additional business or volume or anything like that. So that's the first. Second was they were backing down behind Diane Turton and making deliveries there, which was out of traffic. So it wasn't a problem. Well, I thought it was an easement, and it's not. It is not. I'm told it's just a driveway, and now Diane Turton is not allowing them. Her employees are parking there. So that eased the pressure off Second Street for a couple of years, and now that's over. In addition, we now have Station 117 on Julius Robinson's property. The 3 lots that were vacant, that were Julius Robinson's, now have residences. Bob and Sarah Osborne, who were very quiet and didn't do anything, right? Now that's a big, I think, 6-bedroom home there. Even Kathleen Daniels, my next door neighbor, was only there to garden and get her hands dirty once in a while. Well, now, that's a full-time resident. So Nancy's there with her family. So it's completely developed now. There's more business coming in to the chicken and the egg. So that really is what has changed. The real concern is safety. That's what, and the neighbors who really weren't in favor of it, they see it's gotten to the point where something has to be done. When you have 3 tractor trailers unloading at the same time on 3rd Street, 2 and 3 common, parking perpendicular, and I think even the chief has seen it and stopped that, where they're backing in and blocking 2nd Street. The thought where they park, if a car is coming southbound on Bay Avenue and turns to come into 2nd Street, it's a blind. There is no line of sight. And anybody who would be in that area is in danger. Anybody who steps out from behind the truck or from parked cars, it's a real narrow space. There's nowhere for a car to swerve or get out of the way. And then when you have multiple trucks, you couldn't get a fire truck, you couldn't get an ambulance down 2nd Street. Now, granted, they could go around, but that is another concern, again, in safety is a big one. So also other businesses, I know this came up before, like you said, and every business is unique. And in my opinion, the Chicken or the Egg is the busiest restaurant on the island. Serving 24 hours, morning, lunch, dinner, late night. They do a lot of business. And I mean, because of that, I think they need to have a little special consideration. Murphy's, we did the best when I was running Murphy's by putting people in the parking lot and coming in behind Kapler's. And even then on occasion, a truck would end up out in the street, which we didn't really want. We did schedule our deliveries for the bigger trucks, made them come in early, knowing when the others would be there. So that's another thing to work on. But, I don't really want to tell anybody how to run their business. If there was a solution, I would go to them first rather than coming to you. But the police go. What do they tell them? They don't have an answer. I feel sorry when somebody calls the police or code enforcement. Pat, what's he tried for a while when 3rd Street was open, he would tell them to go over there. So it is unique, the Chicken or the Egg. And again, it's a narrow street, unlike Ingleside Center, Taylor, where you can actually put a truck in the middle and cars can get by on both sides. Still not the ideal, but yeah, we love our business. We love our town. We love everything that we do. We just got to make it work. And in our street, it's really become a concern. Another thing that my neighbor pointed out to me just the other day when we were talking is during COVID for 2 years, that was the delivery spot. Nobody was parking there anyway. So, it's already been done where they flagged those spots. And even then, I think trucks were making their deliveries that way. So if you have other ideas, I'd love to listen, whatever, because it has gotten to be crazy. And the truck drivers, they just want to get in there and unload. I know a lot of the guys, they deliver at Murphy's too. And if you give them a way to do it, they will, I'm sure they'll adhere to it, and then you let one, or like the chief said, maybe you can get 2 trucks in there. I don't know, side by side, without creating a safety issue. But it's far beyond inconvenient. It's now really, it's gotten ugly. It's gotten ugly.
Yeah.
So I thank you for listening, and hopefully we can figure something out.
Just one question. How are your neighbors? I mean, you said your neighbors.
Yeah, there are 8 of the neighbors now who we've been communicating with. They're all property owners.
They're in favor?
Yes, yeah, they are. And
they knew you were coming tonight to speak.
yeah, we've been back and forth with emails and so forth. and talking is, we were out in the street talking the other day. Everybody'd like to see a little different solution. That's what, they were saying, couldn't we do it on Bay Avenue? Right? That would be, now we're off of the side street, but, I respect what the chief is saying, certainly, of course.
Mm.
And also to try to restrict the time as little as possible. Although in the morning, it's not as busy with parking. The parking doesn't start until midday.
Mhm.
And when the restaurants
Yeah.
and everything else, that's when the parking really gets to be more challenging. And of course, the restaurant employees, they park there too. So that's,
Yeah.
but I think it's a compromise. Like I said, I saw it done in Cape May because there's no other solution in their historic district. And it seemed to work really well. If a truck came in and there was a truck there, then he would just go make another delivery and come back when the space would be open. So, I mean, we
Yeah.
hate to give up any parking for any amount of time, but for a small amount of time, I think it would be okay. And we'll see if anybody objects. I mean, I would ask them to come and
Yeah.
sit on my front porch with me. And see for yourself what you think. It's,
Have you had the opportunity to speak with all the neighbors or, I mean, did you get any negative response or so far
No,
everybody's in
like I
favor?
said, what a few neighbors said is, I guess it would work, but we'd love to see it, not on our street, right? If it could be on the boulevard or even across Bay Avenue where the electrical substation is. But then, you got to wheel pallets across Bay Avenue. I don't know. I don't know that would be effective or not, but those were the comments. But I think that everyone has seen what has happened in the last few years. And they know something needs to be done. Something.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Really
Thank-
appreciate it. Thank you. Let me ask you a question. Has it been any better with the 24-hour now with the CHAG at night? It seems like to me, it seems like we haven't had many complaints about that. So I'm not assuming that means there are none, but is it a little
I
better than
don't
it
think
used to
they're as
be?
busy, Kitty. I
Yeah,
don't think
okay.
they are.
Well, that's good.
I think Bert and Betty's is taking
Mm.
some of that late night business. And also they opened the one in Marlton.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that is
Which is always packed.
crazy.
I know, I
busy.
drive, yeah.
Crazy.
Huh,
So I
all
think
right.
that, yeah, it's not as busy. And actually, the expansion takes some of the people up the street too, which I'm sure the police appreciate them being inside rather than out on the street.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that might have helped with some of the crowd on the street.
yeah, it really is a strange situation with no easement and.
So I
yeah.
think the only thing the council still needs to decide is what the hours are going to be for the no parking. We had 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. John, you suggested in your email to council 6 a.m. to noon. So it's really up to you guys
Yeah,
as the
it's-
legislators, what you want it to be.
I'm sorry, is 6 a.m. is when deliveries are allowed, right? They start in Beach Haven? I think it's a noise ordinance, right?
I know that you can collect trash at 6 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
So-
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I actually think maybe, I don't know, maybe we should start it at 6 to noon, just
Okay.
because I don't know. How does everyone else feel about that?
But
don't know.
first, I supported this ordinance in the past and I support it now. There's not one place that you go to that you can park because there's a delivery zone. And that delivery zone isn't necessarily the property of the business. It's just the town that decided that that's the safest place for delivery. So this isn't a new concept. It's the safest concept. You're still going to have deliveries there. So it's either still going to be in the middle of the street or we're going to take 4 parking spots away for a certain amount of time and put it there. It seems like the easiest solution. So I think it should be 6 to 4. I've been around at 12 p.m. and there's still deliveries happening. So I'd rather start with a later time and then go to a less amount of time. Go to 4 p.m. and then dial it back to 12, if in fact if we need to. I'd rather be safer first and then, and I think it should be 4 p.m.
I don't see why you can't make deliveries.
They do. I feel like there's some, but still at noon time though. There is still, especially when I'm going by Murphy's, I still see deliveries of Murphy's at 12 PM.
Honestly, most deliveries here, this is the end of the road. So they either start, there's nothing, they either start here in
Right.
New Haven, or they do all their whole route and they end it.
Right. It's just the only
Those
thing,
are the few that
right.
we used to get, and then it'll be after.
right. And it's just the, when you have construction and traffic, 12 is too, I feel it's too early. And then to 4 PM, you eliminate the beach traffic and the employees coming in. So it opens it up for, the consumers coming in at nighttime to park there. So I think 4 PM is reasonable.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay.
I think something a little bit earlier, but if we want to try 4 and then dial it back, I just think you're taking up valuable spaces for most of the day. But as you said, the dinner hour does start a little later, so if you want to start at 4 and then maybe we can see, dial it back.
Michael?
Works for me.
Okay. All right, item 2 under general discussion, we're continuing to work through our MS4 stormwater approvals, permits from the state. So they've identified another ordinance that we had failed to adopt back in the day. So we are going to follow their recommendation and adopt a private storm drain inlet retrofit. And this was the sample ordinance that they provided. So we're going to adopt it just as they provided.
I like this ordinance because if we had this ordinance in place, then, for example, when Atlantic City Electric did all of that work, they would have to have corrected the stormwater drain and
Right.
put the grate on it and done that because we would have had an ordinance in place. So I'm okay with this ordinance.
Any questions or concerns?
No.
Okay.
No.
The third one deals with land use administration. We recently had a resident write a letter to us and appeal a decision. She wanted to appeal a decision of the land use board to the council. And in reviewing the code, we felt that it wasn't clear for the layman when that is appropriate for a resident to appeal to council. So Eric Riso struck some references to subsections and statutes and wrote it more clearly so that now it says that any interested party may appeal to the borough council any final decision of the land use board approving or granting a use variance, conditional use variance, expansion of a non-conforming use variance, a floor area ratio variance, density variance, or height variance pursuant to the provisions of, and it lists the land use law. So we're recommending that we're a little clearer to the public when they can appeal
Yeah, he
to
just-
council.
Eric just elaborated on the full definition of a D variance. That's what this pretty much is, the entire definition. So someone wouldn't have to go and look up the definition. So it
Okay.
kind of explains it to someone who's looking it up. And Eric has been an excellent addition to the land use board. So any recommendation that Eric makes, I would fully support.
I have no problem with it.
Okay. The fourth item is the use of the virtual meetings. A couple of things since our last meeting. We did make some administrative changes to how we're using Zoom. Number one, they can no longer put up like an image. They either show their face on the screen or you can see their name. That's it. They can't put up like a profile photo or a video or anything. So that's been turned off. And they were also trying to open a whiteboard over our meeting. That happened like a dozen times at the last meeting. So we were able to shut that off as well. In addition, Bruce recommends that we maybe add to our public meeting notices a statement that says, please take notice that attendance/participation via Zoom is provided as a convenience to the public and is not a requirement of the Open Public Meetings Act. In the event technical issues with Zoom, the meeting will proceed as scheduled in person without a Zoom option. Is that something that you would consider having? I
love
think
that
that
idea.
we need to be prepared for that just in
Yes.
case, because I
Yeah.
don't want a meeting to be in limbo.
I agree, and I also think that you should pass that on to Eric and the land use board, because there's been numerous times where we've had technical difficulties and have taken almost 20 minutes to a half hour to fix that
Yeah.
technical difficulties. It also, makes people come to the meeting that are professionals that need to be at the meeting because of the technical difficulties that may arise, so.
Mhm. I don't know if the land use board could just adopt this same blanket provision like we are, because it's the quasi judicial
Yeah, I would
and
ra-
there's notice but I'll pass it along to them and let them decide.
And some of them are zooming, the
Mhm.
voting
Yes.
members are zooming in.
There's always enough members.
So
Yeah,
in
so-
addition to those few things that we've already worked on, is there more that you would like to see change with use of the virtual meeting or public participation?
I would like to see people that are participating in Zoom, when they do participate, that have to show their face
When they want to comment?
when they want to comment, if possible. There are, circumstances beyond someone's control that they cannot. In a lot of cases, we do actually know the people that are zooming in, so they would be, different circumstances, but I think we should move forward with, if you want to speak to us, we should be able to look at each other and have listen face to face to your comments.
Mhm.
Do you do that at land use? I hear, understand.
do.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that. Just.
There's been cases where people couldn't figure it out and,
Right.
okay, that's fine. But, as the rule,
Right.
You need to have your-
Exception.
yes.
You can always make an exception.
yes,
Yeah.
the chairwoman always makes an exception
Yeah.
if she has to.
And can we add something to that, that you should have to show your face at least 10 seconds before they decide that they want to speak?
He's gonna count that 10?
No, it's because what they, that meeting that we went through was,
That was fun.
oh, yeah.
Not
Sad state of affairs.
when we talk about this, I mean, the Zoom is a courtesy. And I mean, I think it's a nice thing for people to participate, especially with our seasonal demographic. But then, getting back, you have the land use board and you're supposed to be swearing people in person. And if you can't see them, how is that legal?
Mhm.
Well, I would defer to our attorney on that, and he seems to be confident from what we understand that it's legal. So
Yeah.
But you don't know who
Well,
you're
we-
swearing in, is
we
what I'm
obviously
saying.
knows
Yeah,
what's
there's-
legal and what's not legal.
Recently at the land use board, there's been very little swearing in via Zoom, but
I
again,
mean, it's very rare. I mean, it's very unusual, isn't it? I mean, haven't seen
it
so
always
much.
going to depend on how popular the application is. And then we really haven't had any
Yeah.
large applications that would have a large audience for
So
public
it's mostly
comment.
just someone who's commenting, not providing testimony.
Yes, yes.
So that was it. I did have one other item that I had on the tentative agenda about the leased municipal slips. I did talk to the solicitor today while he was in-house, and I think that we're going to take a different approach and not legislate right away, not suggest any legislative changes right away, maybe just do some correspondence with our concerns and see if we can get the issue resolved before we bring it for any legislative changes.
I think we should always take the route first of speaking to the people involved in a situation like this or any situation, talk to the owner, the property owner before we
Yeah.
legislate. Yeah.
Okay, I have a bill list today in the amount of $212,333.70.
Motion to approve the bills.
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay. At this time, I open the floor to public comment. Is anyone on Zoom tonight?
We have 11 participants.
Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak? Adam?
Allender, Fire Chief of Beach Haven, 100 South Bay Ave. The one thing I didn't want to talk publicly about this thing with Second Street, but I support it 100% because the area on the corner on that north side is actually where the hydrant and the FTC is located for that building. So it is definitely a concern, fire trucks turning in there when we have deliveries, but more importantly, with the cars not parked on that corner, we're able to get in there and lay into the hydrant and provide water to that building that's now sprinkled in order for fire protection. So I don't want to influence any of your decisions and stuff like that. There's many businesses around this town that we would have a difficult time getting into the FTCs, but they're there for us to use. But I think it's something that needs to be considered when making these decisions. And I love that you guys are considering that compromise. So thank you.
Thank you. And I personally think I speak for everyone. I think we always want to know your opinion on these types of situations and respect it. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone on Zoom like to speak? Anybody with their hand up? No?
I don't see any hands up.
Kathy, did you have something to say? I saw your hand up. That's why.
Kathy King, 326 Third Street. I don't know where to go with this, so I'll just ask. I asked Eric. There was a question about a loading zone at this at the Pier 18 site. And he said what passed the land use board is as far as he knows, but wasn't there a thing about there was no loading zone? And what happened to that? And where does that get adjusted? And has that already been adjusted? And that's my question. I really don't know who to ask, and that's why I'm doing this.
I have no idea.
The resolution for that property has passed and is moving forward. So if you want a copy of the resolution, I mean, Gina can give you a copy of the resolution. Sherry can give you a copy of the resolution. Off the top of my head, I don't want to quote, I don't remember if they asked for relief for that, for a delivery zone, because they weren't putting in a food establishment. They're doing a retail. So with retail, doesn't have as many deliveries as a food establishment. But I don't want to say anything that I don't know 100%. I would have to have the resolution in front of me. I don't remember if they asked for relief, but I do know that the resolution did pass for whatever they asked for.
And you mean
Obviously.
relief,
They
they
don't
asking for the borough council
No.
level.
They asked for, I don't know specifically if they asked for a variance to not have a loading zone. You can ask for a variance not to have a loading zone to the land use board. I don't remember if they
You
have
said
one or
nothing's
not.
been changed
No,
from
but
the original.
from the original resolution, and I don't have the resolution in front of me, so I don't
Right.
want to say something that's not,
But
that's
that
not true.
wasn't in the original resolution.
Whatever's in the original resolution, if they asked for a variance for a loading zone, or if they didn't ask for a variance, it passed. So if they did ask for a variance for a loading zone and it passed, they're not gonna have to have a loading zone, but I don't know
Me
100% if
either.
they
I don't
asked.
know how to find out, or I wouldn't have been standing here doing this in public. Right?
Well,
And the part of their application was approval of their site plan, right?
Right, I just
And the
don't remember.
site
if they-
plan
I-
would have the loading zone
Yes,
But
on
it
it.
doesn't, or I don't believe it
I
did.
don't have it in front of me, so I don't want
I'm
to,
sure
I don't want to
Gina-
speak.
And I
Okay.
can't get a hold of,
Gina can send it to you because you're on the
Who?
land use board. Gina, our land use board
I've called her
secretary.
numerous times and
Okay,
never get a call back, so I'm in the
I'll
process.
find it for
I'm
you and
just
I'll
curious.
send it to you. 'Cause
Okay.
we're on the land use board together, so I'll get it to you. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll get it to you.
I do
Well,
have
you should-
someone on Zoom now.
certainly hear back. if you
Craig
want.
Berkland.
Hello, Craig Berkland, 215 Second Street. I'm actually John Wachter's next door neighbor. And I think it's great if you're gonna get the deliveries out of the center of the street. I fully support that, because it is a safety issue. My only comment, and I apologize, I'm a couple of minutes late, but a few years ago, we fought pretty hard, as I recall, to push back the time they're able to pick up the garbage from their compactor. And I think it was 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. So if we could match that 7 a.m. for deliveries as well, that would be great. But it could be 6, I'm not sure, but just to match those restrictions would be great. And I'm totally for 4 p.m. as well.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. It might not be a smart question, but John, and maybe it's a question for you, John, but do the trash trucks have to pull into that same space? Or would they take up any of that space?
They go back
Yes,
in.
they do pick up and drop off, or, pick up recycling in the, trash on that side sometimes. 'Cause
Mhm.
all their cans are big.
I mean, it might make sense for them to be earlier so they don't need the space that delivery truck would take up. But anyway, all right,
I'm sorry.
It would work for them too.
7 o'clock?
Well, I mean, I don't know, like the chief said, if one truck was there, the trash truck would pull next to it.
Yeah.
And it would still, Second Street, I believe. would
Okay.
still be usable, right?
Garbage and recycling is so quick. It's
Yeah.
not like they're not unloading pallets and stuff. I mean, they're just
Got it.
grabbing some cans, throwing them in, and I mean, everywhere they go in town, they stop in the street.
Yeah,
It's not, so
True.
they don't
Right.
really affect anything. And the truck is not nearly as big as the.
right, okay,
Delivery vehicles. so.
right, thank you. About that. Anyone else in the audience like to speak? Anyone on Zoom? No? Okay. Now at this time, we'll close the meeting and I will just go through with final remarks by council. Start with you tonight, Jamie.
Oh, great. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And I hope everyone has a wonderful Labor Day weekend with their family and friends. Be safe and enjoy your end of summer.
Thank you. Colleen?
Yeah, ditto with the Labor Day weekend. We know it's going to be a big one. They said AAA has said it's going to be like off the charts, so be careful, enjoy. And I also want to offer sincere and heartfelt condolences to the Enos Kleber family on the sudden and tragic loss of Janine. She was universally loved in this town, and her loss is, being greatly felt by everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Mr. McCaffrey?
I guess this is the big weekend of fun where everybody does their final partying, I guess, for now. Just be careful, have fun, and enjoy the activities.
Thank you. Yeah, I would also like to extend my love and condolences to the Enos Kleber family. The Morrison's family has been, it just won't be the same without Janine. So anyway, thank you. And also to wish Mayor Davis speedy recovery. She's going through a really bad time with her eye right now. And so I wish her well and hope that she has a speedy recovery. Thank you very much and have a safe Labor Day. That's it. Make a motion to adjourn. Do we need a motion?
Please.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank
Second.
you. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.